Hello Algebra 1 students, this is Mr. Wilsey, and in this video I'm going to work out these 4 problems that were on the Solving Systems by Substitution quiz. So I need you to take notes on these problems, so you're doing these problems again with me in your own notes, and you also need a TI Inspire, because I'm going to teach you a way to do all of these problems in your calculator very easily as we go along. Alright, so let's look at problem number 1. The system of equations is y equals 2x minus 10. The second equation is 2y equals x minus 8. Now, when I see this system of equations, the first thing I notice is that the first equation is solved for y. I like that, because I can take this 2x minus 10 and I can stick it in for y in the second equation. So that's going to be my step 1. My step 2 is going to be to replace the y in the second equation with a set of parentheses. Inside those parentheses are going to be 2x minus 10 and then equals x minus 8. That is the easiest first step to do, but you have many different possible first steps. For example, you could solve the second equation for y and then set the two equations equal to each other after that. But this is the easiest thing to do. Now after this, the next thing that we're going to do is distribute the 2 into the parentheses. So 4x minus 20 equals x minus 8. The next step is to gather all of the x's on the left side of the equation. I'm going to do that by subtracting x from both sides. 4x minus x is 3x. The next step is to add 20 to both sides to move the numbers to the right side. So 3x equals negative 8 plus 20 is 12. Final step, divide both sides by 3. So x equals 4. Now we are not done yet. We still need a y. The way that we get a y is to take this 4 and to stick it into, well, it looks like the easiest equation to stick it into would be the first one, because it's already solved for y. So this is my step 3. My step 4 is going to be to write out y equals 2 times 4 minus 10. So y equals 8 minus 10, so y equals negative 2. So my solution is x is 4, y is negative 2. So this is the ordered pair that represents the solution. Perfect. Now let's look at problem number 2. Now in this case, neither equation is solved for y, but I like the second equation more than I like the first one, because the second equation I can just take one step and solve it for y, and we'll have a situation as easy as this. The second equation can be solved for y very easily. All I have to do is add 2x to both sides of the second equation, so y equals 2x minus 3. Now here I can take the 2x minus 3, I can stick it into the first equation. That's going to be my first step. And then I'm going to bring this equation back down. So 3 times, in parentheses, 2x minus 3. So the y disappears and is replaced by 2x minus 3 inside of parentheses. And then plus 4x equals 14. Next step here is to distribute the 3. So 6x minus 9 plus 4x equals 14. Now, the 6x and the 4x are already on the same side of the equation, so I can just directly combine them. 6x plus 4x is 10x. Next, whoa, my goodness. I just threw my pen at myself. Add 9 to both sides is the next step. So 10x equals 14 plus 9 is 23. Last step, divide both sides by 10. X equals 2.3. Now the final step is to take the 2.3 and plug it in to one of the original equations, or into an equation that I derived from one of the originals. In this case, this equation is solved for y, so I'm going to put the x into that equation. So that's my step 3. My step 4 is y equals 2 times 2.3 minus 3. So y equals 2 times 2.3 is 4.6. So y equals 1.6. And the ordered pair that represents the solution is 2.3, comma 1.6. Now, I forgot to use the calculator to show you how to do these problems. So let's go back to number 1 real quick. Now, get out your TI Inspire, turn it on, then you're going to go to New Document, don't save. Then we're going to go to Add Calculator, enter, perfect. Now, we're going to go to Menu, go to Algebra, enter. Now, in order to solve an equation that just has an x in it, or just has one variable, you would have gone to numerical solve. I taught you how to do that in class. But now we're going to go down to Solve System of Linear Equations. Enter. So there's two equations. The variables are x and y. Perfect. So go down, okay. Now here, you just type in your equations directly. The first equation is y equals 2x minus 10. Then hit the down button. Here, you're going to type in 2y equals x minus 8. And then hit enter. Look at that. 4, negative 2. That was ridiculously easy. Mr. Wilsey, why didn't you teach me how to do that in day 1? Well, think about it. And you can do the same exact thing with this equation here. Again, Menu, Algebra, Solve System of Equations. Good. Okay. 3y plus 4 times x equals 14. Second equation is negative 2x plus y equals negative 3. Enter. And these are given to you as fractions. Let's see if I can convert these. Menu, number, convert to decimal. There you go. 2.3, comma 1.6. Exactly as we got over here. Now, you could have also used your graphing calculator to solve these systems of equations by graphing them and finding the intersection point, but that requires you to solve both equations for y so that you can plug it into the graph, okay? Because in order to plug in a graph, you need it to say y equals. But what I just showed you here is so much easier, is it not? It's almost a cheat. Actually, it is a cheat. I'm going to still require you on your quiz, if I tell you to solve a system of equations by substitution, I mean it. Solve it by substitution, because that's the skill I want to see. Alright, let's do problem number 3. Now, problem number 3, neither equation is solved for y. Neither equation could be easily solved for y, but look at the first equation here. X equals. The first equation is solved for x, which means I can just take all of this and plug it into the second equation where I see x now, okay? Not where I see y, but where I see x. So that's my step 1. My step 2 is to replace the x in the second equation with negative 2y plus 4, and then plus 7y equals 14. Now here, I'm going to distribute the 3.5 into the parentheses. Oh, never mind. I'm going to distribute the 3.5 into the parentheses. So 3.5 times negative 2y is negative 7y. 3.5 times 4 is 14. So I have a plus 7y out here and a 14 over here. Now again, the negative 7y and the 7y are on the same side of the equation, so I can combine them directly. That is equal to 0y. I still have a plus 14 and a 14 on the other side. Now 0 times anything is 0. So that can go away. So really what I'm left with is 14 equals 14. So my y has disappeared. This means, so my y has disappeared, and I'm left with a true statement. 14 equals 14. That means that it doesn't matter what y is. This equation will still be true, which means there are an infinite number of solutions. Now let's try to solve this system of equations in the calculator using what I just showed you. we're going to go to menu, Algebra, Algebra, solve systems of linear equations, 2xy, perfect. Now let's see what the calculator is going to tell us when I try to plug in this system of equations. 3.5 times x plus 7y equals 14, enter. Ooh, interesting. I actually don't know what this says at all. But it doesn't look like it should. So that should tell you something is off. Something is off about this. And it doesn't tell you directly, oh, you have an infinite number of solutions. So either way, if you get 14 equals 14 by solving it this way, or if you get that mess over here, you need to be able to interpret what that means. What it means is infinite number of solutions. I understand this, I don't understand that. Okay, it's the first time I've ever seen that. Alright, let's do problem number 4 now. Now, problem number 4, the second equation is already solved for y. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to stick it into the first equation. That's my step 1. My step 2 is going to be to rewrite the first equation, except instead of y, I have in parentheses 1/2 times x minus 7/2. This is equal to 13. Again, the first step is to distribute. Now here, you have to be really, really careful. 2x, negative 3 times 1/2 x is negative 3/2 x. Negative 3 times negative 7/2 is positive. 3 times 7 is 21/2. A lot of students miss that. You forgot to distribute that minus sign. And then this is equal to 13. Now these two are like terms. 2x minus 3/2 x. You should be able to do that in your head, but if you can't, just do 2 minus 3 divided by 2, 1/2. Okay, so it's 1/2 times x, then plus 21 over 2 equals 13. Now I'm going to subtract both sides. I'm going to subtract 21/2 from both sides. So 1/2 x equals, now 13 minus 21/2, I can't do that in my head. So let's do this. 13 minus 21 divided by 2, 5/2. That's not too bad actually. Alright, now the next step is to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of that fraction, 1/2. 2 over 1 is the same thing as 2, but anyway, that cancels out, so x equals 5/2 times 2 over 1, 5/2 times 2 over 1, oops, I had a plus sign in there, 5. So x equals 5. We're not done yet. We need to take this 5 and we need to stick it into one of the original equations. It looks like this one is already solved for y, so let's stick it in right there. That's my step 3. My step 4 is y equals 1/2 times 5 minus 7/2. That I'm just going to plug into my calculator. I don't feel like thinking. So 1 divided by 2 times 5 minus 7 divided by 2, negative 1. Y is negative 1. So it looks like our solution is 5 is the x, comes first, and then negative 1. That is it. And of course you can check your work in your calculator using what I just taught you. Now as I was looking through your quizzes, I noticed two things. Well, I noticed a lot of things. First thing that I noticed, that I recalled from last time I taught this subject, is that this solving systems by substitution is probably the most difficult thing you will face in Algebra 1. If you can overcome this and do it, smooth sailing from here on out, more or less. Factoring, when we get to factoring, that's going to be difficult, but this is a very difficult topic, probably the first or second most difficult thing you study in Algebra 1. Now, I also noticed that some students were rounding. So, for example, right over here, well, let's see, somewhere in here, you might have tried to divide by 3, and so you might have had something that says like 2.33 because you rounded that. from the fraction, don't do that. You cannot round, you cannot approximate any intermediate numbers to a decimal. The reason is because it has a cascade effect. If you round somewhere up in here, your final answer is not going to be right. When you try to get, it's going to be close, but it's not going to be quite right. When you plug that number into another equation to try to get your y is going to be even more wrong. So it's a cascade effect. So do not round when you're doing these. Try to keep everything as a fraction. The other thing I noticed is that many students took very difficult paths to solving these systems. For example, in this system, I saw a lot of students trying to solve the first equation for y. That makes you end up dividing by a -3, which is the pain in the butt. You don't want to do that. So in every system of equations that you have to solve, find the easiest path, please. And I don't mean use the calculator to solve that way. When I ask you to solve by substitution, try to find the easiest equation to solve for y or to solve for x. Okay? So that is it. Hope you learned something. Hope you feel a little bit more comfortable about this topic. Okay, I wanted to show you one last thing. This was the video that you should have watched for this class period, Systems of Linear Inequalities. This was the first system that you looked at in that video. Now I'm going to show you how to graph that in your calculator, in your TI Inspire. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a new document, go to Add Graphs. Now here, this says y equals, basically, but I want to change that to a greater than or equal to sign. So I'm going to press the delete button, and then I have a whole list of options of different sort of signs that could go there. So I'm going to pick the greater than or equal to sign. And then notice how it changes to a y. I don't know why it does that. Then type in 3 divided by 2 times x minus 2. Ta-da! Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It's even shaded the right way. That's wonderful. Now, I want to graph that second inequality, so I'm going to press the tab button. Now here I have another field. I'm going to press delete. I'm going to put the less than button, and then I'm going to type in 1 divided by 4 times x plus 3. Voila. Now notice that the overlap region is shaded extra dark there. Also notice, I don't know if you can see it in the video, I'm going to try to focus this, but you can also see that this line is dashed, meaning that points on the boundary line are not a solution of that inequality. This line is dashed. Oh, I'm sorry. This line is solid, so points on that boundary line are solutions. Okay, so I hope that that's another useful skill that will come in handy for you.